I did an interview with Ross Robinson about a year and a half ago.
Nice.
So right
and you lived. No, I'm kidding.
And I lived. So right before I think you guys started tracking Korn III. So I got to ask you, when you're hanging out with Ross at his place in Venice with his dog Carl.
Yeah, you know Carl.
No Carl.
Oh, I love Carl. That's the best. He feeds his dog nothing but the freaking dog lives better than most people. You pet that dog's coat, you're like, oh, it's like a silky smooth, like, it's freak. Yeah.
Well, what do you guys talk about, like, right before you start tracking?
Oh, man, I was a new guy. I've only been in the band 3 years. This band is a huge 40 million seller, 3 Grammy winning, huge band. They have fans with tattoos, sleeves, Jonathan Davis on their back. I mean, they're lifers. This isn't just another band. You don't just join Korn. So he wanted to make sure the new guy, me, even though I've done 3 world tours with him and done some recordings before, did John's solo record, he wanted to make sure that I knew what I was getting myself into. And they started this band, and it was this small little thing, and now it's, and he let me know for sure. I wanted to kill the guy. Every day I wanted to wring his neck,
Really?
But now I listen to the record, and I thank him, because he just wanted to make sure that we're playing from the heart. He found out I was schooled, and that just pissed him off. He didn't want to have anything to do with a schooled drummer. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I play from here. Just because I have a little bit of knowledge in my head doesn't mean anything. I play like I played on the farm when I was 10 in Pittsburgh. That's just my mentality. And man, we recorded the whole record in a room, probably 14 by 13. And dude, it was like we would have these speeches before the songs. It wasn't about like, hey, let's double this chorus. Let's make this section longer. It wasn't about that. It was like, put your sticks down, put your guitars down. It was me, Monkey Fieldy, and John, and Ross in the middle of this small room jumping up and down, kicking cymbals, punching things, yelling. It was brutal. I mean, John would leave there with tears in his eyes. I would leave there sweating and bleeding. And I mean, it was intense. It wasn't like, hey, guys, let's do a little rock record. Yeah. It was like, it was on, So we would have these full-blown therapy meetings before we go on. Like, okay, why are we here? What are we giving today? Why are you here? And then we're like, I'm here to... No, why are you here? And we keep saying that, why are you here? And I'm like, I'm here to play the best... No, why are you here? I'm here to bring the... Why are you here? Like, it was just this... To get deep inside your brain, and it just would freak you. And right before you get ready to snap, and you just run away, he would say, roll tape. And you're like, I don't want to roll tape. Yeah, we're rolling tape right now. And just, I mean, if something looked too comfortable for me to play, it'd make it uncomfortable. It was just the most bizarre, and I've done 70 plus records in my career.
Yeah.
And it was the most bizarre thing I've ever been a part of. So, but I wanted to kill him during the process, but now that I have the record in my hand, I love the guy. I want to thank him.
Did he ever tell you to turn off your brain?
Yes. Shut everything off. Leave everything, leave all your problems behind, leave everything it's all about exuding the passion, exuding your heart, and pouring it out.
The last song on Korn III, you can hear Jonathan kind of crying at the end.
That's the real deal.
So what were the therapy sessions like? What did you guys talk about?
Everything from what was on people's minds. If John would come in with something bothering him that day, the song would come out like that, And that was a heavy day. Holding All These Lies is a very special song. I don't think John could listen to it the whole way through. We have videos. If you get the deluxe edition, there's videos that go with it, and you can see him and Ross like a foot away from him, just looking into his eyes, and it's heavy, man. I still get chills when I watch the video. I can't get to the end without getting that whole chill rushed down the back.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So I know those guys. I mean, those guys started with Ross.
Totally.
So from your perspective, how has the dynamic of the relationship with the other guys? How did that change with Ross in this record?
Well, I think, to them it's like a family reunion. I've only been in the band 3 years, but to them it's like having Ross back was just like the family reunion. Like, he's just a few years older, and so, yourself, like longevity of bands, they don't last much, 5-7 years. They peak and then they kind of go away. To have a band still going strong for 17 years is like amazing. So Ross wanted to bring back that whole attitude and mentality of like, look, we're going to bring this, we're going back old school, because you get comfortable after a while doing so many records and owning a nice prestigious studio. He says we're going to go in a room 14 by 13 and go back old school where nothing escapes, nothing gets away. And I think that's what you hear on the record. There was no click tracks. We did all the drums to 2-inch tape, so there's no punch-ins, no fixes. It's very minimal overdubs.
So, well, you did it in Venice, right?
No, we did it in. No, we didn't do it at Ross's. We did it in the Korn studio in Hollywood.
Okay.
Yeah, it was intense. It was.
So, what's it like for you coming from Pittsburgh? Obviously, you've done a ton of records before you even joined Korn. But how was it for you adjusting to a band that sold 30 million records?
Well, it's like I said, it's I can play with as many the David Lee. I played with David Lee Roth for 8 years. Mm-hmm. And Van Halen was one of my biggest influences growing up. So being on stage with Diamond Dave every night blew me away. So I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of good gigs. I just got out of Army of Anyone right before this band with Robert and Dean from STP and Richard from Filter and it's there. I've been in a lot of vastly different gigs. Primarily I've been living playing sessions. So you have to play jazz one day. You have to play polka. You have to play thrash metal. You have to have it in your noggin, all this information, and be able to somewhat play it convincingly to get that next gig. Korn, you don't just join a band like Korn. It's their own thing. When Monkey plays one guitar note, when Fieldy slaps a bass, no one sings like John. They're instantly recognizable. So when I got in, you have to get inside this. You don't just I was in David Lee Roth, now I'm in Korn. No, you have to completely get inside it, and so it was, that first tour we did was a big eye-opener of the worldwide fans they had, the fan base. There's no fans like Korn fans, man. It's like, doing Donington last year in front of 60,000 in London and going to South Africa and to Dubai and seeing these people crying, and it's just intense, man. You know what I mean? You could tell they're lifers, so... And I'm going to the meet and greet. They're like, "Who the hell are you?" And I'm like, "I'm the new drummer." And then after the show, they're like, "Man, I didn't mean anything by that." And I'm like, "It's cool. I would do the same thing because I know I'm still a fan. I don't get into the whole rock star thing. I go to 4 shows a week. I love it. And I know when one of my favorite bands changes a member, it bums me out. I'm like, "Who are you?" So I get it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So
kind of changes the subject a little bit, but Fear in the Nervous System.
Yeah.
Have you heard it?
I love it.
What's it sound like?
Oh, I can't even describe it, man. I love Brooks Wackerman. He played drums on it. Zach Baird played a lot of keys from the Korn. This singer, he's got...
Steve from Repeater.
Man, talk about chills. I'm such a fan of the band already. I told Monk, I go, Brooks ever can't do a gig, please call me to play on it because I would love to, or play a gig, Amazing.
How did they get Steve? How did Monkey get Steve?
Ross fueled it. Ross said, "Hey man, you got to check this guy out." And Monkey went to see a Repeater gig, had him come down and write a couple things freestyle, and we were all in I was there the day that Steve got the gig. He was in there just with headphones on by himself, and there. And Monkey looked at me and I went, "Yeah, that's your missing element right there." Yeah, everybody's project. I mean, Fieldy was Stillwell, and I played on a bunch of John's solo record. Mm-hmm. All 3 solo projects are just really special in their own way. They're really cool.
Are you content where you're at right now with your life?
Very much so. My girlfriend creeps around the corner. She's like, "You better see what I think of it." Yeah, very much so. Absolutely. I couldn't ask for anything more. It's like, she's like, my girlfriend asked me. Yes, because of her, I'm very content with my life. Yeah.
I mean, are there things that what do you want from here on out? I mean, you're in one of the biggest bands in the world.
Yeah, I just want happiness. I want longevity. I want to be doing this till I'm 90. If I'm in a wheelchair, I'll be holding 2 sticks in some smoky club somewhere, going barely moving. That's what I see. And just being happy and healthy and just I think what everybody wants, whatever they do. So.
When you look back at all the years that you've been doing this and how the scenes have changed, how the generations have changed, is that intimidating at all?
You know what? The music business is going through some really hard times, and it has in the past, I think, 2 decades. I think even the 90s were kind of weird, music. I'm a big fan of the 70s era because everyone was just making music for real. No one was fixing things with machines and making them sound perfect. I'm so sick of all that. But having the bands just playing. Let me hear what you have to bring to the table. I don't want to hear what the engineer did to it after you left the studio and fixed it and made the vocals perfect and made the drums. What happened to just playing? That's what the new record's all about. Our record. It's just about getting in there and playing. So I think the different generations, that's an interesting question because it's like I think a lot of people have lost the depth of why, perfect example, no pun intended, but remember who you are. Remember why you're doing what you're doing, why you're sitting, why are you playing your instrument? Why are you are you doing it to be a rock star? Are you doing it to be rich? Or are you doing it because you love to do it? So.
There was a quote that Ross said, and I'm trying to think of the exact quote, and he was talking about why he wanted to work with Korn was because he wanted to join the band, and I asked him.
He is the fifth Beatle.
That's
sixth
what
Beatle. Yeah.
That's what he said. And I asked him if he had ever thought that Korn would become one of the biggest bands in the world, and he said that it wasn't even a concern, and it was just that this was the baddest shit ever.
Yeah.
And that was his response.
He's a passionate mofo. I love that guy, man. He's such a passionate guy, and I see a lot of myself in him in a different way. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He's got a lot of, even though we wanted to butt heads, and I'm a running, I'm getting cut off by 3 sources. I don't mean to cut you off.
Hey, no worries, man. I do have one question.
Yeah.
This totally is kind of random, but we were talking about band members and how you were saying if you were to see a band and a member would to change,
I'm still
you'd be like,
fan.
whoa.
Yeah.
I know there was a lot of stuff with Brian Welsh. I did an interview with Brian Welsh a couple years ago as well.
I'm a huge fan of him, man. Big fan of him.
Was there ever talks of him rejoining for this record?
I'm sure there always has been. I mean, I'm the newer guy, so I don't have much of a say in that. I'm a big fan of him. Of course, I'd love to see all 4 of them in front of me every night. I think there'd be nothing cooler. I mean, I love Shane sounds great in our band right now. Mm-hmm. He's a phenomenal guitar player. I'm sure there's been talk coming down the pike. I think timing is everything. And maybe it's not the right time yet. Obviously it wasn't on this last record. Maybe who knows about the new one. I think everyone has doors open. There's no doors slammed shut.